You ever run into a story that just sticks with you? Like one of those things you hear once and it refuses to leave your head. I came across one like that from the Southwest, and the more I sat with it, the stranger it got. It's tied to what's sometimes called the Great Purification, a period of upheaval spoken of in Hopi tradition, a time when earlier worlds came to an end. Not metaphorically, not symbolically, ended. And within that story, there's mention of something unexpected. Beings remembered as helpers, a race known as the Ant People. Accounts passed down through generations speak of them guiding people underground when the surface world became unlivable. Shelter beneath the earth, protection, survival. And whether you've heard pieces of this before, or this is the first time it's crossing your radar, it's one of those narratives that immediately pulls you in. So tonight, let's walk through it. According to the story, humanity wasn't just facing hardship, they were facing extinction. Entire worlds collapsing. One consumed by fire, another locked in ice. And during those upheavals, ancestors were guided to beings known as Anu Sinom, the Ant People. They weren't described as invaders. They weren't conquerors. They were helpers. The story says they led people underground, into cavern systems beneath the earth, places where life could continue, while the surface could not. Food was shared, shelter was provided, and knowledge was passed on. How to prepare, how to store what was needed, how to endure. And when the destruction above had passed, people emerged again, carrying that knowledge forward. That's the account as it's been told, generation after generation. And it's one of those pieces of oral tradition that really makes you stop and think. The story doesn't end with simply going underground. It describes time spent there, not as a brief hiding place, but as shared existence. Ancestors living alongside the Ant People, in chambers and passageways beneath the earth, learning, preparing, being shown how to survive in a world that could turn hostile without warning. There are accounts of guidance, of being led through stone corridors, into protected spaces, of cooperation, of coexistence. These weren't quick encounters. They were chapters of life, periods of protection and instruction, during the transition between worlds. And eventually, when the surface became stable again, the journey reversed. People returned above ground, bringing with them what they'd learned, carrying forward survival knowledge that would shape the generations that followed. What makes a story like this interesting is what happens when you widen the lens. Because once you start looking beyond one region, themes tied to underground realms begin appearing elsewhere. In South Asian traditions, there are accounts of beings associated with subterranean domains, the Nagas, linked to hidden spaces beneath the surface. In Mesoamerican cosmology, there are layered underworld realms, places tied to passage, transformation, and the structure of existence itself. And across European folklore, stories have long been told of earth-dwelling beings, communities said to inhabit caverns, hills, and spaces just out of sight. Different cultures, different meanings, yet the motif keeps showing up, that beneath our feet exists another layer of narrative. And when exploring humanity's distant past, people sometimes point toward places like Göbekli Tepe, ancient stone structures whose origins stretch further back than once expected, reminding us of how much our story is still unfolding. Whether taken as history, mythology, or mystery, these accounts share a thread: human beings have always looked downward as much as upward when searching for answers. This is Joshua Tree Encounters, where UFOs, cryptids, and strangeness collide.